Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Lexa Peterson, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Sergeant Renee Boss. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops at Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Herbert George May. Herbert May, known to his family as Herb, was born on the 14th of April 1885 in Glenelg, Adelaide. He was the eldest of 5 children born to George and Mary May. His father died when Herb was only 17. His mother Mary did not remarry, and the family remained living in Adelaide. After finishing school, Herbert worked as a labourer in Adelaide. Herbert May enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 27th of November 1914, joining the 9th Light Horse Regiment shortly after its establishment. Assigned to the rank of trooper, May travelled to Melbourne to train with the regiment. Although most of the battalion left Australia in February, May did not embark for Egypt until the 2nd of June 1915. Sailing from Adelaide in HMAT Botanist, he arrived in Egypt in July 1915 and joined the rest of the 9th Light Horse Regiment on Gallipoli on the 11th of September. The regiment was still recovering from its disastrous losses during the attack on Hill 60, where it suffered 50% casualties. Still under strength, despite the arrival of reinforcements, the 9th played a defensive role for the rest of the campaign. Herbert May left Gallipoli for Alexandria in early December. The regiment remained in camp outside Cairo until the end of February 1916. Now part of the Anzac Mounted Division, the regiment joined in defending the Suez Canal from Ottoman attempts to drive across the Sinai Desert. The 9th remained in the region, helping to push the Ottoman forces into retreat after the Battle of Rimini in August 1916. By December, they had reached the Palestine frontier. Here they helped to secure the Ottoman outposts of Magdaba and Rafah, both of which were captured at bayonet point. The 9th Light Horse, now part of the Imperial Mounted Division, continued across the desert in early 1917 towards the Ottoman stronghold of Gaza. On the 26th of March 1917, the regiment was involved in the first 2 abortive battles to capture Gaza. Although the mounted troops succeeded in capturing high ground to the north of the city, the slow progress of the infantry led to the withdrawal of all troops at dusk. Sometime during the fighting, Herb went missing in action. Nearly 4 months later, in July 1917, it was reported that May had been captured by the Ottomans and was a prisoner of war in Amanus in Turkey. He wrote home to his mother on the 9th of August 1917, telling her, "Just a few lines to hope you in the best of health as it leaves me at present. I wish the war was over so we could go home again." This would be his last letter to his mother. By September 1917, Herbert May was interned at a place named Bor. His health rapidly declining, he was admitted to hospital in Nij on the 18th, suffering from fever and dysentery. Trooper Herbert May died from dysentery on the 26th of September 1917. He was 32 years old. Herbert's body was buried in an unmarked grave in Kayabash Cemetery in Nij without military honours. Herb's family received no word of him, despite inquiries from his younger brother Stanley, who by 1917 was on the Western Front. On Christmas Day 1918, one of Herbert's sisters wrote a pleading letter to Base Records. She explained the family had been informed that he was among the men recently released from capture in Turkey, but that it is 15 months since we have had a letter from him and that her poor mother has been awfully worried. Base Records responded in early 1919, stating they had received no official documentation regarding Herbert May's fate. Herbert's mother wrote again in July, stating that although she had been informed by the Red Cross that he had died as a prisoner of war, recently returned men from the 9th Regiment had assured her that he had been ill, but was now well and in England. It was not until September 1919 that Trooper Herbert May's fate was officially confirmed to his family. Herbert May's remains were exhumed in 1927 and reburied in the Baghdad Northgate War Cemetery, along those of other prisoners of war from Nij. But the graves there were unmarked, so Herb's gravestone thus reads, "Buried near this spot." His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Herbert George May, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.